Welcome to Game Gazers, where today we're diving deep into the controversies surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows and the mixed fan reactions that followed its release. The Assassin's Creed franchise has been a mainstay in gaming for over a decade, consistently pushing the boundaries of open-world adventure games. But when Assassin's Creed Shadows hit the shelves, it stirred up a storm in the gaming community. In today's video, we'll break down the most talked about issues and controversies, analyze fan reactions from both sides of the spectrum, and look at how these reactions are shaping the future of the Assassin's Creed series. Before its official release, Assassin's Creed Shadows generated massive anticipation. The first trailers suggested a bold new direction for the series. Set in a dark, gritty world, it promised a departure from the traditional historical settings, offering a more narrative-driven experience. Fans were eager to see how the game would evolve and how it might innovate while still honoring the franchise's roots. Yet, the hype came with a level of skepticism. Ubisoft had recently experimented with Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, two titles that leaned heavily into RPG elements. There were concerns that Shadows might be another RPG-style adventure with even more complexity and grind. The initial gameplay reveals didn't help quell those fears. They teased a game world that was atmospheric, but the gameplay seemed more focused on action-packed sequences and stealth than the deep historical exploration that many fans cherished. Some questioned if Ubisoft was moving too far away from the essence of what made Assassin's Creed special. The shift in setting and tone, one of the most significant controversies surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows, is the shift in setting and tone. For years, fans had become accustomed to the historical settings, whether it was ancient Greece, Renaissance Italy, or Victorian London. But Shadows decided to take a bold step into a darker, more dystopian world with a more abstract narrative approach. Fans of the older games in the series voiced their disappointment with this drastic change. Some felt that the historical accuracy that the franchise was known for had been sacrificed in favor of more fantastical and less grounded storytelling. This departure alienated many fans who were invested in the lore and history. On the other hand, there was a significant portion of the fan base that applauded this change. They saw it as a refreshing shift, allowing for more freedom in the storytelling and creative direction. Some even compared the new tone to the darker atmosphere of Assassin's Creed Revelations, but on a more mature scale. Social media exploded with passionate opinions. On forums like Reddit, there were threads debating whether the game was still Assassin's Creed at its core. Some argued that it had become too far removed from the original concept of exploring history through the eyes of assassins. Others praised it for evolving with the times, claiming that it was still the same franchise, but one that was simply growing. The RPG mechanics, the introduction of RPG elements into Assassin's Creed Shadows, is another hot-button issue. The game includes level-based progression, skill trees, and loot systems that are reminiscent of Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla. However, many longtime fans felt these mechanics were overemphasized and detracted from the core gameplay experience. At the center of this debate is the game's combat system. While the previous entries focused on fluid combat and acrobatic stealth, Shadows introduced a more complex system that rewards players for building up their character's abilities rather than relying on skillful combat techniques. This shift made the gameplay feel more like a standard RPG, where stats and numbers matter more than individual player skill. For fans who preferred the more cinematic, strategic combat from earlier titles, this was a massive letdown. They felt that the game had lost its edge, and what was once a fluid and immersive combat experience now felt grindy and tedious. However, some players appreciated the RPG mechanics, arguing that they added depth and replayability to the game. With multiple builds and character progression options, it offered players a more personalized experience. But it's clear that this shift was divisive, with some fans embracing the change and others rejecting it entirely. Microtransactions and monetization, another major controversy surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows, involves its monetization practices, particularly the microtransactions. Ubisoft had previously been criticized for its approach to in-game purchases in Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla, and many fans feared that Shadows would take a similar route. When the game launched, players quickly discovered that Shadows featured numerous microtransactions, many of which were tied to cosmetics, progression boosts, and other quality-of-life improvements. While these transactions were optional, they drew the ire of the community for being too prevalent. Fans felt that Ubisoft was leaning too heavily into monetization, sacrificing player experience in favor of profitability. This backlash was especially fierce when the game's progression system was seen as tedious or grindy, leading players to feel incentivized to purchase boosts to skip past parts of the game they didn't enjoy. Ubisoft responded to the criticism by offering some transparency in their future updates, reassuring players that they were committed to maintaining a fair, non-exploitative environment. However, the damage had already been done, and many players felt betrayed by the game's monetization. The narrative direction of Assassin's Creed Shadows was another point of contention. The game's story took a more abstract approach to the Assassin's Creed lore, focusing less on the iconic assassins versus Templars conflict and more on an overarching, mystical struggle. While this could have been an intriguing new direction, it was met with skepticism by fans who cherished the deep philosophical and historical themes of previous games. One of the biggest criticisms of the story was its pacing. Many players felt that the game's plot was disjointed, with several side missions and filler content diluting the impact of the central narrative. While the game still had its moments of intrigue, the overall experience left many fans feeling unsatisfied. On the other hand, some praised the boldness of the narrative, arguing that it took the Assassin's Creed series in a new, unexpected direction. They appreciated the game's ability to introduce new elements while still maintaining ties to the established lore. However, this segment of the fanbase remained in the minority. The divided community, as with any major game release, fan reactions to Assassin's Creed Shadows have been split down the middle. On one side, you have the players who are upset about the loss of the franchise's historical focus and feel betrayed by the monetization and RPG mechanics. They argue that the game's shift in tone and gameplay made it feel more like a generic RPG rather than a true Assassin's Creed title. On the other side, there are those who embrace the new direction, excited by the creative potential and the possibilities offered by a more flexible, RPG-inspired framework. They see Shadows as a natural evolution for the series, one that adapts to modern gaming trends while still offering the thrill of stealth and exploration. This divide has created intense debates across social media platforms and fan forums. The most vocal critics argue that Ubisoft has abandoned the identity of Assassin's Creed for the sake of broadening its appeal, while the supporters claim that the game is simply a new chapter in an ever-expanding franchise. Implications for the future of the franchise looking beyond the controversies. The release of Assassin's Creed Shadows has significant implications for the future of the Assassin's Creed series. With a growing divide in the fan base, Ubisoft faces a difficult challenge: how to balance innovation with maintaining the core elements that fans love. The success or failure of Shadows could determine whether Ubisoft continues to push the franchise in a more RPG-driven direction, or if it returns to the historical focus and more grounded mechanics that made the early games so iconic. Fans are hoping that Ubisoft will listen to feedback and evolve Assassin's Creed in a way that keeps it fresh while respecting its roots. So what does this all mean for the future of Assassin's Creed? Assassin's Creed Shadows has undeniably been a divisive entry in the franchise, raising questions about the direction Ubisoft is taking. While some welcome the changes and see the game as a necessary evolution, others feel that the heart and soul of Assassin's Creed has been lost. One thing is certain: the fanbase remains deeply invested, and their reactions will likely shape the future of the series. Whether Ubisoft takes this as a lesson in balancing innovation with tradition, or whether they double down on their new vision, we'll have to wait and see. But for now, the controversy over Assassin's Creed Shadows serves as a reminder of how passionate gamers are about the franchises they love. It's clear that the stakes for Assassin's Creed have never been higher. Thanks for tuning into this deep dive on the controversies and fan reactions surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Are you for or against the changes in the series? Do you think Ubisoft can regain the trust of longtime fans? Or is it too late? We'd love to hear your opinions. Until next time, keep gaming and stay gazing.